Welcome to the class, Healing and Forgiveness in Scripture, especially to this winter intercession version of the course. So in this video, I'm basically just going to go over the content of the course, go over the syllabus, so that you'll have a good idea of what to expect. So you'll see on the syllabus my name and also my office extension number at OC's campus. But because it is the winter intercession, I'm not going to be in my office most days. So, I'm not usually going to have in-person office meetings, not unless there was some, you know, important reason why that should take place. The best way of kind of contacting me, if you need to contact me by phone, is there's my home number to call me, and you can leave a message. But probably the most efficient way of getting in touch with me is going to be by email. So my email address is listed as well. I will be keeping virtual office hours Monday through Thursday, and you can um, contact me during that time. By email. Once again, I'll see emails during that period, and I can respond quickly. Or if you want to set up some kind of video chat, a video conference, something through Google Meet or through a Zoom meeting or something like that, I'll be glad to make those kinds of arrangements with you. So in our syllabus here, we always try to provide as well the OC motto, as well as our mission statement. Uh, and each syllabus as well will include the kind of professor's Christian worldview and the professor's teaching philosophy. And so I've kind of included that. We do provide as well here a description. So basically, it is that we're going to examine um, what the biblical texts actually indicate about how these authors viewed the healing of physical diseases, and with a special attention to the healing activity of Jesus as they're recorded in the Gospels. And we're going to look at this kind of in the broader context of the ancient understandings of asking and receiving divine forgiveness. So, in other words, when people sought to be forgiven by God or by the gods, what was it that they were looking for? So, students will learn through this the difference between how healing and forgiveness was understood during what is typically referred to as the Second Temple Jewish period, and so that is during the time after Babylonian captivity in 586 BC to the time of the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in AD 70. So during that particular time, there was a lot of changes that took place amongst Jews and their theology and their writings. And so we're going to be looking at Jesus's healing activity and the healing activity of early Christians, as well as the conversation about forgiveness during that period. So this is not going to be looking at how Christians thought about healing and forgiveness in later generations. So pretty much within that in that first century, and you'll be able to contrast then how they thought about these issues, these concepts, with how Christians might think about them today. So there's a wide range of views that Christians will have about healing activities today, referring to miracles, miraculous healings, and also how Christian conversation about forgiveness and what forgiveness entails, and how forgiveness is offered, and how Christians participate in forgiveness. So I think the relevance for this course is that you begin to think more critically about your own understanding of forgiveness and healing. In other words, what kind of assumptions that you have about the biblical text and what the biblical text might indicate the authors believed, and how it may or may not be both influenced by biblical portraits and contemporary issues, and values. In other words, how your own understanding may be influenced by other things rather than what's just there in the biblical text itself. So students will learn how to distinguish, critique, and appreciate the biblical portraits of Jesus as a healer and a forgiver of sins from the Gospels' representations of him. So, how the Gospels portray Jesus, of his healing and forgiving activity. As well, we'll be looking at briefly at Apostle Paul and some of his healing and forgiving activities as well. So here lists the major objectives for the course. You can see here that, once again, I just kind of identify through exams the major texts of healing and forgiveness in biblical literature, so you'll know what those are. You'll be able to demonstrate your ability to make substantive, informed comments and critiques of the assigned readings and the podcast that you'll be listening to. And you'll do this engaging with other students in discussion boards. You'll also be able to show that you can articulate a self-awareness of your own experience and understanding of forgiveness through a reflective essay that you will contribute. And you'll be able to critically interpret a biblical text referencing either healing or forgiveness, or maybe sometimes both, and to engage with, a limited amount of scholarship to produce an academically informed interpretation of that text rather than a casual reader view of those texts. So you'll, by reading what scholars might say about these texts, and then thinking about how you will respond to what they say, what you'll demonstrate how you make conclusions, how you make arguments, how you arrive at more informed decisions about these texts rather than a casual, informal view. So those are some of the major objectives. So in terms of the required textbooks for the course, you can use any Bible that you want. Some of the standard ones that most people are going to kind of be familiar with is the NIV, or the what's called the ESV, the English Standard Version. There is a popular one that I will use called the New Revised Standard Version. So, but any translation is acceptable. You'll also want to make sure you have gotten the book by Anthony Bash, Just Forgiveness, Exploring the Bible, Weighing the Issues. So I do want to encourage you that when you get this book, make sure that you've got the right author. There is another book with a similar title, Just Forgiveness, is used, but it's a different author, and it's really approaching the subject in a different way than what Bash does. So make sure you have the one by Bash. You'll see here the course requirements. So you'll be having these discussion board participation, and so this is going to be important that you can make substantive comments to prompts that I will provide, and then your substantive response to other students. And so this is a huge way in which you will demonstrate what it is that you are learning, how you're assessing the material that you hear from me in podcasts, or the things later on you will read about forgiveness from Bash. There is a midterm exam that will cover the healing section, and then a final exam that will cover the material over forgiveness. Then you'll have a 4-page reflective essay on forgiveness. So this is where you'll demonstrate your ability to write clearly and be able to construct a reflective essay where you kind of think about your own experience with forgiveness, or what you have observed about the concept. And you'll also be doing a 4-page guided research paper, and guided in the sense that I will provide for you a list of biblical texts that you might want to investigate. And I will also be providing help so that you can use academic resources to write your research paper. So in that sense, I'm kind of guided, and plus I'm here during the time that you're writing to help answer questions that you might have or difficulties that you might have when writing that paper. You'll see the grading scale that I have listed here as well, and policy on attendance and participation. Of course, you're not physically attending within the class, but you are participating through the discussion boards. And so that's how you will be primarily judged in terms of your participation. If you don't post, then that's, you won't get points for that, and that will be reflected in this grade. So also just let you know that let me encourage you to ask questions. You can either ask questions within each discussion boards of other students. If you want to really ask a question to me, there is a Q&A discussion board where you can go in and you can ask those questions, which everybody can see. Or if it is a question that you really don't want the rest of the students to see, you can email me questions directly about things that you are hearing or things that you may be concerned about. Or even in the Q&A section, I have it set up where you can make anonymous posts. So if you want to make a question that you think all the rest of the students should see or think that would be helpful for them to see, but you don't want people to know that you're the one raising the question, you can ask that question anonymously. Quick description about the final exams. They're primarily multiple choice, matching, short essays that you will have on that. And don't assume that you can make up an exam if you should miss when the exams become available. There'll be 2 times during the 3 weeks that we have that these exams will become available. You will take those exams within that time frame. And if you miss that time frame, don't assume that you can automatically get a makeup of it. You would have to demonstrate, or you would have to have some very clear reasons why you were not participating in the exam when the exam became open. So there's my makeup exam policy. So a reflective essay on forgiveness. So this is where you're going to write that 4-page essay. Basically about your own understanding about God and forgiveness, and about the role that forgiveness plays in your life, either your own experience of feeling or sensing, believing that you've been forgiven of sins, or your desire to have sins forgiven, or your interactions with people. Whenever you told somebody that you forgave their sins, or when someone told you that they forgave you of sins. And so you're going to write about that and what that meant to you, and or even if you wanted to say some things about things you don't understand, or things that are confusing to you about forgiveness, or about what you think is the Christian view of forgiveness of sins. So you can discuss any biblical text that you want, any philosophy, things that you may have heard. So there may have been some author or speaker that you've heard talk about forgiveness that made a huge impact and kind of sets the direction for your own life and what you do when you participate in forgiving others. So the paper is no less than 4 full type pages. So in other words, by full, I mean the full length of the paper. So that's what I meant by full. So it's double spaced. Use a 12-point font. Use a standard margins. Use a standard font. Nothing fancy. So if you're going to use references to biblical texts, you've got to provide the exact spiritual citation. So that is the actual book, the actual chapter, the actual verse. And I do take off for spelling and grammatical errors. So try to write something that meets the criteria of a good undergraduate paper. The other writing assignment that you'll have is this guided research paper. And so you're going to choose a topic about healing and forgiveness, or maybe one that deals with both subjects. And you'll take a look at the list of the biblical texts that I provide, and you'll choose one of those to start your exploration. So I understand that it's within a short period of time that you're writing this, and so obviously if you had a full semester, you could do a lot more. This is very brief, and so you're just getting a taste of this. So you're having to read a lot of material pretty quickly, and make some assessments pretty quickly, and compose very quickly. So it's not a very long research paper, so no less than 4 pages, no longer than 8 type pages. It should demonstrate your ability to assess the strengths and weaknesses of anything that scholars claim about the text that you're investigating. And you have to have at least 2 academic scholarly sources that would be provided. And I'm going to provide you scholarly sources. So this is part of the guided research. So you choose the text, and then I'm going to let you know of some sources that you might want to use to work on as you're doing your paper. So, basically, I expect that papers are written according to some kind of recognized academic standard. So, either what's going on as Turabian or MLA or whatever within your discipline you use to write papers, that is acceptable, or whatever standard was used when you took a writing composition course. So, my grade that I give is going to reflect the way I estimate your ability to demonstrate proficiency in several areas. So, is it written in a way that reflects a standard kind of research paper format? How often do you have misspelling? How clear are your sentences? Do you have the representation of primary, secondary sources? Primary sources would be primarily the biblical text or ancient sources that you might use, things that would have been written at the same time that the New Testament was written. Those would be primary sources. Secondary sources are going to be what the scholars, say. Later commentators, those are secondary sources. And then how you can critique these sources. Do you raise questions about what it is that you are seeing in a primary source, even within the biblical text itself? Can you raise criticisms about these secondary sources that you read, things that you think are strong, or statements, arguments that you think are weak? Your kind of line of reasoning. So you make claims, and what's the basis of those claims? And are the things that you are claiming, does it make reasonable sense why you would arrive at that conclusion based upon the evidence or the arguments that you have? And also originality. Now, you don't have to be original. It's not a graduate level paper, but I do love to see kind of original thought if that is there. But of course, it is a short period of time, and you may not have a lot of time to really be too original with paper. So the bibliography contains a minimum of 4 sources. Like I said, at least 2 that I provide. Here's a late work policy. So I do accept work that is late. I do deduct 5% off the grade for each day that it is late. Work that is more than 3 days late, because this is a short course, will not be accepted for any points. So usually I would accept things later, but because we're moving at a very fast pace, I'll only accept it up to 3 days late. There's our policy on honesty. Certainly want you to be honest. Policy about if you have any disabilities, you need to contact Katie Robles' office, and they'll let me know, and I can make accommodations if you need more time for taking the exams. We also have different places that can be of help, although during the winter intersession, some of these places may not be as available to you. But the library should be open, and there will be library help for you. Also, information technology support center will be available to you as well during the winter session. Sexual misconduct policy, of course, this would be seen in discussion boards primarily. So if people are verbally abusive to anyone, I would bring that to the attention of administrators here to take the appropriate steps. So please avoid making any unwanted sexual comments or sexual harassment to others. And if you do feel like you are being harassed by someone, maybe outside of class, they're talking to you and talking to you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, there are people who are on campus who can be of help to you. Of course, you can also bring it to my attention so that I can address it with the students. Sometimes there are students who simply do not know that what they are saying or doing is a form of sexual harassment. So that's that policy there that you can look over for spiritual life. This is an online course, so inclement weather doesn't really apply to us. However, in some cases, because some people might lose power where they live, they may have some kind of storm, and if that is the case, and becomes difficult for you to get to some place where you can have internet access, please just let me know, and I'll try to make accommodations. Or if something really major should happen where you are living, since some students are taking these in other parts of the world, and maybe where you are at, something may occur that makes it getting online difficult for you. Basically, my copyright policy. Now, what's really crucial for you to look at and pay very close attention to is the course assignment schedule. So here you see the assignment schedule that I have up. Now, because this is an online course, you do not need to do these things on each of these days. I have them set for certain days, but you're not really required to listen to things on the day they are set. So you can wait certain days if you want to get online and listen to podcasts or to do reading or to start participating in discussion boards. So you see here in this first week that we're together, discussion board 1 I've set for January 6th, but you could move faster. You could do on Monday if you wanted to listen through units 1 through 4 and get through 1 through 5. I wouldn't really recommend you doing 5 units in one day, but if you wanted to, you could, or you could get 2 of them done by Tuesday, and then you wanted to start discussion board 1 on Tuesday. You can do that. Or if you wanted to wait and start discussion board 1 on the Friday, you could do that. However, what you must do for this first week is you must make responses to my prompts by the end of the day on Friday. So all responses to my prompts have to be completed for discussion board 1, 2, and 3 have to be done by the end of the day on Friday. Now, your replies to other students, you're supposed to reply to 2 students for each discussion board, and those replies are due by the end of the day on Sunday. So again, you can make replies earlier than Sunday, but by the end of the day on Sunday, they need to be completed. So I start grading on the Monday, and if I don't see that you have done that, then I start taking off attendance participation points because of it. So for the first week, that's generally what you're doing in the first week is you're just listening to podcasts and you're participating in the discussion board, and there's one assignment of reading at the end of the week in Bash's book. So you're supposed to read chapters 1 and 2. Next week, things start. You have a little bit more that you're going to start doing. So in that week, you are going to not only have a reading, not only have discussion boards, but you also have a reflection paper. So that reflection paper is going to be due on Monday. And so by the end of the day on Monday, you need to turn in that essay. So you have the weekend that you can work on that or on the Monday. So you can't postpone that one. And if you turn it in late, and I do accept it late, then I will be taking off points for each day that it is late. So during this week, you've got these units on forgiveness and these reading assignments, and then you'll see your first exam. First exam will be due. It'll be open up to you on Wednesday at 8 a.m. and you'll have until the end of the day on Sunday to take it. So be watching for that exam to become available. You won't see that unit until the Wednesday. Then you also have Unit 12 on forgiveness and the 15th again with the discussion boards. All the responses for this week, the replies to my prompts have to be done by the Friday night, and your replies to students have to be done by the Sunday night. Then in the last week that we're together, then you have these other units that you're listening to, and this is during the week that you have your research paper. And so you'll probably start that research paper, I would imagine, um, in the second week. We need probably determine what text that you're going to be investigating, and you can get your materials, and you'll have the time to work on that. But then you're going to submit that research paper by the Wednesday, January 20th. Of course, you can work on this research paper as soon as you want to, but you'll turn it in by the end of the day on the Wednesday. And again, you won't see that unit probably until that week. Then there's a reflection discussion board. So at the beginning, you're talking about your own reflection about forgiveness. And here you're reflecting on forgiveness having taken the course. So I don't know if there will be much of a change or a difference between what you write, you submit to me, and what you're going to talk to other students about when you participate in this discussion board. And then there's the final exam. The final exam will become open on Friday at 8 a.m. And again, you'll have until the end of the day on Sunday to complete it. So pay attention to that course schedule. I will, during each week, send out emails kind of as reminders to everybody what it is due, and give it a little nudge if I see people are not participating as they should. And you also see here kind of a list of these passages on healing and forgiveness that you can kind of take a look at. So, as we start the course, you may want to go ahead and be reading some of those. We're going to talk about some of these in the podcast, but you may want to, again, just take a look at these texts and what they say and see if something you're drawn to. I want to kind of investigate, sink your teeth a little bit more into one of them. Anyway, that is a review then of the course syllabus. And if you have any questions, just email me, let me know, and I'll be glad to respond. Looking forward to what we'll learn together in the course.